So in a world of constant changes, innovation still remains key, as we've just heard. And that leads us to our next panel, Marketing Innovation, how to remain innovative in the face of stricter regulations and advertising restrictions. And our experts here will share how to navigate this challenging landscape. Moderating this panel is Martin Bradley, director at MTM. Welcome up to the stage, guys. Give them a big, big round of applause.
Absolutely.
Welcome, everyone. I just wanted to start the session. A quick show of hands. Who here is facing or has faced restrictions in marketing or regulation that has impacted their role? Quite a few people. Good. I was hoping it was going to be like that. And then the second question, who here sees marketing restrictions and regulation as a significant challenge to their business, either now or in the future? Perfect. It means the session has a purpose and we can carry on. Thank you so much for our panelists. It would be great if you could all just introduce yourself and a bit of your background in marketing and the markets that you've operated in or operate in right now.
Cool. Yeah, so hi everyone. I'm John Bowden, the Chief Marketing Officer at PlayStar. So we are a US online casino, so B2C side. My background is previously managing slots and soft gaming brands for Entain, so the Gala brands, which I'm sure many of you would be familiar with, and Foxy Bingo brands. So I've gone from one very, very heavily regulated market in the UK that's gone through its own wave of affordability and drastic changes over the past 5 to 10 years, to now still a heavily regulated market, but maybe a little bit less regulated than some of the other markets that people in the room are used to.
Regulation's coming, right? And I'm sure we'll come on to it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm Taylor Mason. I work at Game Lounge. We're an affiliate company. We have sites in over 100 different markets, unregulated and regulated. I predominantly focus on the Canadian markets, so I've been following the Ontario launch. And I've also done some work in the US, the UK, and the emerging markets.
I don't know if I can top that. Hi, I'm Catie Stefano. I'm Director of Community Marketing at OnlineGamblers.com. We're a US affiliate that focuses on safe and legal gambling in the US. I've been in the industry 12 years, but the last 5 years I've been working with US market only. I've been marketing consultant for Hard Rock Cafe in Atlantic City, where I helped them launch their online casino. And I've also done some marketing projects in Asia and Europe.
Cool. A true bunch of experts. Before we press on, just to kind of give an overview of why we're talking about this topic, I'm going to keep this very short because this could take up a long, long time. But we're facing marketing restrictions, total ban in Italy. It's coming in Belgium. The UK seeing a shirt sponsorship for the front of shirts in 2026. We're going to come to Canada, which is seeing calls for restrictions. The Ontario regulator wants to ban the use of athletes and sports people in advertising. The US is seeing calls for regulation at the very highest levels and has already seen advertising banned in colleges, which probably is a good thing. But as an industry, we're facing increasing headwinds. So to meet those challenges, we have to be innovative. So we just wanted to start with the big question, do we feel that restrictions and regulation stifles innovation, or actually does it do the opposite? Does it actually provide us the impetus to be innovative in our industry?
I think it depends from market to market. I mean, if we look at Sweden, for example, I'm Swedish, I think the regulations there with no retention bonuses, no cashback, nothing like that, obviously it stifles marketing and like education around that as well. But yeah, looking at, it's not so much marketing, but looking at slots, for example, in Sweden you're not allowed to do bonus bets and like buy that, and that stifles marketing and gaming experience per se.
Cool.
And I would say I'm coming as an affiliate, when you have the regulations, you're limited on the content you can put out. You're limited now how you can promote your partners. So that definitely can stifle innovation. However, it can also, I think, be a bit of a benefit because, okay, with Ontario, we cannot promote any bonuses. So now how can we push our partners without mentioning any word of a bonus? It's forcing us a bit to think outside the box.
Yeah.
So.
As an operator and managing a brand, I think it absolutely makes you more innovative. You have to think of ways to get your brand out there. What's your brand strategy? How are you going to cut through the market? We've launched PlayStar 10 months ago, and we've gone in knowing that regulation's coming from a lot of us coming from the market from the UK and EU, where regulation is a lot stricter, a lot further along the line than in the US. And what we've done is we've built a brand there that we're not just reliant of a race to the bottom around bonuses and kind of spray and pray approach. Actually, we focused on experience, we focused on loyalty schemes, we focused on rewarding players with things outside of just their game time. So there's a lot of ways you have to think outside the box to say, okay, well, how am I going to cut through? How am I going to get that brand awareness with obviously the restrictions that we're either facing now or we need to plan to for the future? A lot of the brands in the UK didn't do that, and then suddenly we had to flip it on its head, and it was, okay, how do we get a recreational base? How do we get more players and not the top end and VIP schemes going? So if you kind of prepare for that, it's a lot easier to make the change earlier.
Perfect. So we know that innovation is there, and we're being pushed to innovate because of restrictions. What trends are you seeing in the iGaming world when it comes to innovation in marketing? What can the audience learn from the work that you're doing, or just what you've seen in the wider iGaming world?
So obviously I'm a little bit biased. I used to work for Hard Rock, as I mentioned, but what Hard Rock in Atlantic City does is that they have their director of sportsbook do a lot of TikToks and social media where he talks about what is available in the land-based casino, but also online, what sportsbook campaigns are available, what you should bet on this weekend, and I really think that's good. They're not hiding behind the brand. They're trying to show, like, we're humans, we're here, we're available if you need to, and I really like that.
And I would say, in regards to the trends, I think it's a bit difficult maybe comparing operators and affiliates. I think operators have a bigger maybe database at their disposal compared to affiliates. So speaking with Game Lounge, some ways we try to find different trends are YouTube channels, different platforms like streaming services, just to give us a bit of insight, I guess, on the trends going on.
Yeah, for us as operators, I think the things that are coming out are more personalisation. So giving a real personalised experience to every player, and not just focusing on VIP. That historically has always been the focus of operators. Is, look, you've got to get your VIP base sorted. The rest look after themselves. But actually, for us, we look at full segmentation of the base. The lower value players, actually, we know that there's more of them around. So if we can keep more of them with us, plus they're going to go under the headwinds of regulation, and in terms of those limits are not going to be hit. We look after those players the same as we do for VIPs. So giving everyone that VIP experience. So personalisation is at the forefront of that, because otherwise you're just all seeing the same stuff. It's very vanilla. It's very kind of white label in terms of the websites all do the same thing. And where's the preference then? Why are you going to go to this website over this website? What am I engaged with in that brand? Because they all offer the same stuff. It's just a bonus.
Yeah, I'm very glad you mentioned personalization, because I wanted to just go into that one in a little bit more detail. Do we feel, as an iGaming industry, we do personalization well? And the reason I ask is, players choose to spend some time on a casino site, they choose to bet on sports, because it's a form of entertainment. And they could have spent that time on Spotify, playing video games, on Netflix, whatever it is, right? And a lot of those brands do personalization. And as an industry, I feel we're a little bit behind, but you feel that we've got work to do when it comes to marketing personalization and making sure we deliver the best messages via the right medium to players?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree that we are a little bit behind. And the thing that you're facing is that players will interact with a wealth of other brands outside of online gambling. That's just a small portion of their day or whatever, but how often they choose to go and play and spend time with you. Everything else in their life is geared up to is a personalised experience, all geared up to personalisation, whether it's Netflix, Spotify, as you say, iTunes, whatever. So they expect that same level of service and that same experience when they go and play casino or sportsbook. So we are behind, but it is getting a lot better. There's a huge amount of tools out there, a huge amount of modelling systems that allow us to say, that this is what the next best action should be, that kind of thing. But even just going back to as simple as doing it yourself in terms of data and saying, they spend this, they play this is what they should see, and this is what we should offer them. So segmented promotions, that kind of thing. Yeah.
I think also like it's a little bit from market to market. I would say the North America is a lot more behind when it comes to that comparing to Europe. Europe is a lot more forward, and I think like even it was yesterday Flows were talking about. For those who don't know, Flows is a journey builder. They're talking about doing involving AI. Fast Track is also involving AI, so it is working a lot faster in Europe. But in US, it's like 10 years behind, and that's a common knowledge.
And Taylor, do you feel that affiliates offer a different level of personalization as opposed to other channels?
I would say more maybe localization. And again, this is where we look at the different trends, how it's difficult because it's, how can we localize our site and be so different, especially Ontario is such a competitive market. So yeah, I think it's a bit different for affiliates.
Yeah. I've got maybe a tricky question here. I wanted to see if any of you had one specific example of something in the industry that either you've worked on or you've seen from another company that you felt has been innovative in the marketing world and has pushed the boundaries of what other operators or companies are doing.
In the UK, Tom Bowler always led the way in that. They were known as always being the kind of bingo website for the people. They had the huge amount of actives, huge database, and everyone was saying, look, the second that they get slots, it's going to be game over for everyone else. And what they did is they built Arcade as like a sister site, and that was just fantastic. It's pure arcade games, gets huge amount of retention. It's actually their biggest revenue driver now, I believe. And the other one was Skybet, because they really lent into safer gambling and used it almost as a USP, even though everyone had to do it. So that became like the real focal point for their advertising. And back in the day, that was genius, because everyone was kind of saying, well, we need to put these logos at the bottom of our banners. Actually, they just lent into it and said, well, why don't we just campaign for that, and that become the source of the focal point of our advertising. So yeah.
I think what's been interesting, actually, to see in Ontario, when the market went live, I think there were a lot of operators who were already operating in the unregulated Canadian market. So seeing not only how certain platforms adapted to we're not just local to Canadians, but how do we localize our platform to Ontario players? Use with the geo filters I've seen, just different layouts, designs of the site has been really interesting.
I really like BetMGM. They recently went out and did a pledge that they have to include responsible gambling information in all of their marketing, and I think that's a great innovative way to try to maintain sustainable players, which is what we all want long term.
Cool. And then let's move on to your current role. Is there anything you can give the audience that you're doing in your day-to-day job that, again, you feel is pushing the boundaries that we can learn from?
So I can say, speaking as affiliate, when we entered the Ontario market, we were not given typical guidelines how to operate. So I think the way we were communicating constantly with the regulator helped us very get far ahead, speaking to our partners, speaking to different providers. Yeah, I say that.
Yeah, I don't think we're very unique in this, but I think it's very important when you work in the US that you do it state by state and not look at the US as one whole country, because it is so different, not only when it comes to regulation and what you can do like restriction-wise, but also to culture. Like it's very different with culture, which states has tribal gaming, which ones do not have sportsbook at all and stuff like that, so yeah.
For us, we've launched a whole suite of gamified games that are like freemium models, so free to play and then also pay to play. And that's been fantastic in terms of retaining players, and also from an innovation point of view, it's something that we have that no one else has. And so, when everyone has the same content, actually, what can we offer someone different? And it gives the feeling of winnability, whilst also we're not stretching spend, we're not trying to push players to spend outside their means, but we're still driving up engagement, and in turn, we'll drive up ARPU, retention, all the great KPIs that you want to focus on.
Yeah. And Catie, you mentioned it about being unique. I think at times when we say innovation, you get caught up that everything you do has to be innovative, and then you're in these meetings and you're trying to brainstorm something different, and it's a real pressure. Obviously, that's not the case, but do we feel that there's certain channels that we can use to be more innovative, or even certain parts of the marketing process, whether that's upper versus lower funnel, that are better suited to innovation, or where we should focus innovation and maybe leave other parts behind?
You wanna? No, I honestly, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think there's any part of the funnel that's more catered to innovation. I think there's a huge amount that you can do that's innovative from an acquisition sense that we just don't do. And there's always a race to the bottom around sign-up offers and how big is the welcome bonus. Gamifying a landing page, something like that, and just in terms of improving your click to reg and your registrations, the first-time deposit, and those kind of things around innovation, confirming the offer, making players feel like they've chosen their welcome offer or won their welcome offer. That's untapped because everyone thinks, well, actually, look, innovation should all be around the website, and then, from an operator side, all be around the website, all around retention. How can we retain players at a higher rate? Well, let's use these engaging, innovative things. But actually, you can do it from the very top of the funnel, and then the brand gets known for it. But I don't think that there's a certain channel that's kind of, better suited for it. I just think we don't think like that, and you kind of see, what everyone's doing in terms of bonus. Well, let's do that. Yeah.
So is this just having the knowledge and also the confidence to implement it in the right way and see it through, right?
Precisely that. And I think the other thing as well, I think we mentioned that the US market's a little bit behind around personalization. It's looking at other markets. A lot of the stuff that we've done, personally from PlayStar, we've taken from things that we know work and tried and tested solutions that we've moved from other brands, but in different markets. And it's like, well, why isn't anyone else doing this? The fact that we're smaller and we're more agile, we can do that. And I do know, I understand it's a challenge for bigger brands, but yeah.
And you touched on it there, that your experience, and all of us here on the panel have worked across different markets, in different regions. Is there any advice for anyone in the audience who is in the same situation and they've got maybe a global marketing strategy that is implemented from the top down, and then they have to take that to a specific market that's completely different? Is there any advice you would give to anyone who wants here who's battling with market nuances versus global needs?
I would say, this is my experience working from Europe when UK was still part of Europe, but then we just tried to follow, because UK was the most stricted regulation at the time, and we tried to implement that on the other markets as well, because then if we follow the most strictest one, we couldn't really get fined, or that was our idea. But then again, if, for example, you're in Ontario and you can't talk about bonuses at all, that makes a very big problem for the other markets if you can't do that. So my advice would be to be as strict as possible while still getting revenue.
Yeah.
And to follow up with what Catie said, I think market research is so important before you enter any market, and identifying your brand, but also everyone involved in that launch should be not only on the same page with the regulations, compliance, and the market, but also how are we going to be successful with our strategy while also being compliant and innovative.
Yeah, I think if you're juggling different markets, it's tricky, but I think exactly what the guy said there, I'd echo. And on top of that, if there's something that's working in another market, and even if it's not in a market elsewhere, but actually you think there's something you can pull across and make work, because a lot of this stuff is transferable to different players, to different audiences. I would say that in terms of, find out what's working fast and then apply it across the board.
Yeah. I'm really glad, Taylor, you mentioned market research, because that's what I'm a big believer in. It's only by understanding the market and needs and behaviors can you come up with campaigns that meet those needs, and then that's where the innovation comes from. If you don't have an understanding of players' needs, behaviors, motivations, you can't then build your strategy around those. I wanted to touch on what we can learn from other sectors, whether that's adjacent sectors or just anything else in the world. Is there anything you feel in the marketing world we can learn from that you've seen, whatever brand or sector that is?
I can just speak again as an affiliate. I'm going to compare it to, let's say, the movie industry. When you're going to see a movie, they're trying to sell you on their trailer. They want to hook you in the first few minutes. As affiliates, I think we're doing the exact same thing. When you come on our page, we want to hook you right away. So I think that's a common, goal.
Yeah.
Something that I am surprised that I haven't seen yet, maybe I've just missed it, but it comes from a lot of different industries, is the subscription model. I am very surprised no one has launched subscriptions to get free spins monthly, weekly, whatever. But then again, comparing our industry to other entertainment industries are very difficult, because I was talking to someone about this yesterday, and the thing with the gambling industry is that you put in money and expect to get money back, which is not very common if you go put money on restaurants or movies or clothes, whatever. It's not really the same. So that's what makes gambling so unique. You want the money back, and preferably more.
Yeah.
I think personalisation is absolutely one, but we've touched on that. I think the other one is more real-time treatments to players, making them feel like when they're on the journey, it's not going to be 24 hours, 48 hours, they'll have a losing session, we won't hear from us for a week. It's actually in real time, setting up those triggers, using models, that kind of thing. I know it is widely being used, but I think in other industries, they're a little bit a step ahead on that.
Yeah, and do you feel that we are behind other industries when it comes to innovation? You feel we're pushing the boundaries well, or?
I think we are a very fast-paced industry. This happens a lot very, very quickly. I remember when the first mobile games come out and it was a huge boom, and now I think it will be the same with AI. Like the whole industry is changing. We're seeing so many different, whether it's operators, suppliers, like everyone's trying to use AI in different ways, even us as affiliates. So we're not behind. I think we're at least on the same level.
Yeah. Cool.
Agreed with what Catie said.
Yeah, I think, I do. I totally agree. I think the one thing, though, with us being so fast-paced is we often think quite tactically and can be short-sighted, and then you don't think strategically. And that, I think, can be the problem with us trying to keep up with, new tech, not just other industries, but things out there that are just going to provide better experiences, better user experience. You just don't have the luxury of time because we're such a numbers-driven industry and you have to hit this today. Actually having that time to breathe and say, you know what, well, strategically, we know we're doing this, so let's hold fast here. This is the right thing to do. And not a lot of players are given that luxury, isn't it? Yeah.
But you can also split the industry in land-based casino and online casino, right? And then online is so much more technical. We're moving a lot faster. Whereas land-based, they still don't take. You have to take everything with cash. You can't set limits. You can't really do the same things as you can online because we are working in tech. It's a lot of tech involved, and that goes fast.
Cool. Before we wrap to some final thoughts, is there any questions for our panelists in the audience? Just down there. I think there is a microphone. You've built it up now.
The pressure.
As long as the question's not for me.
Come on now.
Thank you. So I'm sure that you saw many affiliates and many brands. As I'm a crazy marketer, I made experiments with TikTok, making reviews for casinos, and I noticed that actually you can do it, even if TikTok doesn't allow it, till a certain level. So, as a result, in your experience, what platforms have the chillest compliance? Of course, my own website, it's obvious that my own website is the chillest, but YouTube, TikTok, Reddit, no, Snapchat, so which one I can advertise more aggressively than in the others? So if you can give me YouTube, I don't know, like in your experience.
So my experience, I would say, of the ones available, I would say Instagram is a lot more flexible. You can do a lot there, whether you do porn or cannabis or whatever, so you can do gambling there as well. But TikTok and Facebook and other platforms are a little bit more stricter, absolutely.
I would agree with that, and I would actually even add YouTube. I think you can do a lot with YouTube, again, depending on the markets.
The thing with YouTube, though, is that if you do work with gambling and a lot of these more like stigmatized industries, sometimes it can be problems to get revenue from sponsorship and do ads and stuff like that. So, yeah.
That's true.
Cool.
I'd say YouTube for the purpose of branding. You don't have to be overly aggressive from an offer point of view. You can actually get the brand out there. It's an effective way for us to do that. And then I would agree with Insta. It's a little bit more limited on what we can do with Facebook. But yeah.
Cool. We've got a good time for one more question, if anyone has one. Is there the microphone? Sorry.
Hello, thank you. Just to give you a bit of context, I'm working for an operator operating in Belgium, so very soon heavily regulated on marketing and limited. I wanted to know if you had any experience about similar kind of marketing limitations in the past. And did it impact the general volume of acquisition after 6 months, 1 year? Did the market recover from it or not? How do you see it from your perspective?
Yeah, I've been privy to that in managing brands in the UK market when regulations become stricter and stricter from when it previously wasn't as strict, and and there wasn't so many limitations around it. The way we survive with that is kind of flipping the business model on its head and removing the sole focus being around VIPs and much more around a sustainable base, so retention across the whole base and actually getting value out of kind of what you would perceive to be more the lower end. Does it regulate itself out? Yeah, after time, tougher for acquisition because you're not going to be willing to pay the high CPAs because obviously PLTV will take a hit, but the good thing is if you've got more players and higher retention rates, then actually over time you do get payback.
Right, we're nearly out of time, so let's leave the audience, each of you, with one final thought on your best practice or your top tip when it comes to marketing in the face of regulation and restrictions.
So I would say personal branding. I think that's very, very big. We at Online Gamblers work a lot with that as well. We have me and my colleagues' faces on the site. We try to show we're here, available. We're not hiding behind a brand. And I think that is the future, to build communities and get a lot of players to actually show who you are and be available.
Cool.
I would say same thing. Know your brand, know the market, and don't be afraid to talk to all the parties involved. Regulators, partners, providers, everyone involved.
The biggest one for me is get as close as you can with your partners and affiliates, understand exactly what's out there around your brand, because there's some huge pitfalls there if you're not close to your partners that are pushing your brand out and offers out for you.
Perfect. Thank you all. And a big round of applause, please, to our amazing panelists.